Yeah.
Hello and welcome to a video on our little game called Spuzzle, which stands for Space Puzzle. It's very creative, I know. It's a game that me and my friend kind of developed and created during 2 weeks time in Unreal Engine without really having too much knowledge about the engine itself or blueprints and whatnot. I just wanted to make a little video about, the type of struggles we encountered, how we solved them, if we solved them, and the other small things that we haven't really figured out yet. But as I said, this game was developed during 2 weeks, and it was kind of an introduction course for ourselves, learning Unreal Engine and figuring out what was hard and what was easy, and kind of also getting an introduction to the whole YouTube sphere of Unreal Engine tutorials, which is, don't get me wrong, horrible. It's absolutely horrible. If you compare it to Unity, it's absolutely horrible. But nonetheless, we kind of managed to figure out a little bit of the mechanics and the blueprints out, and we kind of got to the finish line with a half-assed developed game. The first thing we wanted to do, of course, was we kind of wanted to fix the movement. And the movement within the game, or like how you move and whatnot, it's the documentation from Unreal itself is pretty vague. And there aren't really a lot of guides out there, whereas people actually tell you, write it like this to move it like that. There are a lot of people that have asked questions, but not a lot of good answers out there, unfortunately. So that one was kind of hard to figure out, since the first thing we wanted to do was to figure out, how do you move the character? And how do I lock it so it just jumps a fixed distance in whatever, direction I tell it to go. That in itself kind of took me 2 or 3 days. I had to go through a lot of documentation and, get to the nitty-gritty and controllers and whatnot, which in itself was a huge learning curve. But as soon as I figured it out, it worked like a charm. It really did. The project in itself isn't really that advanced, but I wanted to make it a little bit more stylish. So I kind of tried to make a cell shader, and I kind of messed up along the way. I know what the mistake was. It was just some values that I just bumped up too much. But as I removed the skybox, it kind of gave it this space, retroactive look or whatnot. But it ended up being the style we went with. We kind of liked it. We looked at it once and went, I don't know what type of thing I did, and I don't know where I messed up. I didn't know at the beginning. And we just went, we could just remove the skybox and just keep it like it is. It's kind of cool. It's kind of spacious. It's kind of, old school. But otherwise than that, everything else is pretty simple. We have some simple materials. We have some simple meshes. And I have a collision mesh that pretty much just tells the player where it should respawn. I have a destructible mesh and a normal player and just a tile that I've just duplicated all over the place. I kept the original blueprints. You just, copy paste if I wanted to, and it's just divided up into levels. So I could just call which level it should go to if a player would die or proceed and whatnot. Now, this was actually one of the hardest parts. Getting the level code to work, because one thing that frustrated me a lot was that there's a lot of guides out there that kind of tells you about arrays and how they work, but there aren't really a lot of people that kind of put it to work or like kind of show you how to implement it in something. Like there's a lot of guys that shows you, oh, this is how you do a string, or this is how you paste that or this. But at the end of the day, the most valuable thing that I found was like if there was someone that could just do a simple array, like I had my friend help me do, Code Genius. He kind of just did it right at the top of his head. He just knew it. And I was like, dude, you have to make a tutorial of this because I've been going nuts. And that was when a lot of the frustration started, whereas I couldn't find really good guides or, no one to really hold my hand as to this is how you do a efficient level changer and this is how you do this or that. And that was really the hardest part about Unreal Engine. Whereas you had to sit for hours really and just endure the frustration, go through a lot of documentation and try to be smarter than you already are. So I don't know. It was a very interesting experience. I like it because at the end of the day, the game in itself is amazing. I like it. It is so simple and I can just jump back to the game at any point and I can just continue doing levels, which is again in itself amazing. The only final problem we had was that I could not for the likes of me figure out how to put up a decent loading screen, because the way I had put up the code in itself kind of prevented me from having a decent loading screen, because it reloads the level every time you die, so it wanted to load the loading screen every single time as well. And I tried a couple of different methods to get around it, but I just gave up at the end. I was so close to the finish line. I was like, fuck it. Just leave me alone. Yeah, that was pretty much the game. I've thought about making different type of mini tutorials about this and that I've kind of found lackluster within the YouTube community, or the Unreal tutorial YouTube community. Just simple thing as to, collision, setting materials, changing colors and whatnot, small things. But I'll see if I get to that one day. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, just leave it down below. And if you actually want the blueprints, just right off the bat, just let me know. I'll send you the whole project. Because if you look at this project, you want to reverse engineer it and whatnot, go ahead. Absolutely. Do so. Thank you. Bye bye.